Tonight, escalation. The U.S. seizes an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela.
Large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually.
As the president teases a potential invasion. Plus, Democrats keep winning across the nation, leaving Donald Trump at a loss for words.
Usually I can figure things out, but I don't know what.
Also, be happy with less. Why 47's economic message is echoing 39's.
Simply by keeping our thermostats, for instance, at 65 degrees in the daytime.
You can give up certain products. You can give up pencils.
And the immigration debate turns to victimhood.
If you subtract immigration out of test scores, all of a sudden our test scores skyrocket.
Live at the table, Anna Navarro, Joe Borelli, Deja Fox, and Noah Rothman. Americans with different perspectives aren't talking to each other, but here they do. Good evening, I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Let's get right to what America's talking about. A dramatic escalation. After months of tough rhetoric and boat bombings, the U.S. has now seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. That's a move that could inflame tensions even further in the region. The Attorney General posted this video of the takeover saying that the feds executed a seizure warrant for the tanker. Pam Bondi says it has been used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela to Iran, which ultimately benefited terror groups that the president is fighting against. And here's what he said about that today.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually.
The oil tanker, who owns that oil tanker?
You'll get that information later.
Okay, and have you spoken to Maduro since your last conversation?
No, I
It's
haven't.
only been one conversation.
No.
And just a reminder, Trump has been teasing potential land strikes while saying that President Maduro's days are numbered. But Maduro is taking that threat in stride, it seems.
Don't worry, be happy. La 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 la. Don't worry, be happy.
What to make of all of this? Well, joining us in our fifth seat is former Pentagon official Alex Plistas. Alex, the ship seizure is something that seems to be fairly above board. But when you put it in the broader context of the military buildup in the Caribbean and Trump's rhetoric, what do you think is going on here?
So it's definitely an escalation and a sign to the regime. This was executing a federal warrant, as far as I was told. So in that case, it wasn't necessarily military action, which would explain why there were Coast Guard forces involved, operating under Homeland Security authorities and federal law enforcement, and they were accompanied by U.S. Marines for security purposes. So to date, all of these strikes have been against drug and narcotic boats that were out there. This was carrying 1.1 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil. It's been part of a shadow fleet that's been helping to avoid sanctions with Iran, Russia, et cetera, the whole network. And at this point, it appears that this is the first operation that's really targeted state assets at this point in terms of Venezuela. So we haven't seen land strikes, but if you're going from cartel, narcotic smuggling boats now after crude oil, the next logical step would be something inside Venezuela. So definitely a step in that direction.
Yeah, and you talked about being no fan of Maduro, but is this really, actually taking steps to push him out, maybe using the military to do that? Is that really something that you think Trump is ready for?
Out of all the things they've done, this interdiction of this tanker is the one that makes the most sense to me, because for 3 months now, they have been trying to convince us that the fishermen in these little boats that may or may not have been transporting drugs, because they did not show us the evidence, are narco-terrorists, despite the fact that those drugs were not coming to the United States. They were going to Trinidad and Tobago and from there to Europe, whatever. They've been, creating this narrative surrounding drugs and trying to justify the droning of these boats for 3 months. That has made absolutely no sense. We don't get fentanyl from Venezuela. It just doesn't pass the smell test. There's statutory authority. There's OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Control Authority. And I do think that it is one more tool in the kit in order to pressure Maduro. I think Donald Trump under the advice of Marco Rubio and others, thought getting rid of Maduro would be easier. Frankly, a lot of dictators would have already packed their bags, after they've fleeced the country, like Maduro has done with his corruption, would have left into exile to go live out the rest of his life on the billions of dollars he has stolen from the Venezuelan people. Maduro hasn't done that. He has resisted now for 20 weeks.
And it makes you wonder what it would take for him to actually take further steps.
But the difference, though, is that a lot of the things he's done until now and the things he's threatening to do, he would need congressional approval for. Whereas for this oil tanker interdiction...
Because I'm not sure he thinks he needs congressional approval for a lot of things, but I just want to expand this a little bit because Trump is not just threatening Maduro. Here's what he said about the Colombian president that he's actually been in a bit of a back and forth with as well.
Have you considered talking to the president of Colombia, who you call a drug leader?
No, I haven't really thought too much about him. He's been fairly hostile to the United States. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next.
What is that, an empty threat?
It could be an empty threat. It could be a very full threat. This is the definition.
Really?
It's the definition of mission creep. If you're going to talk about intervening in nations that covertly or overtly export narcotics abroad, the scope is going to expand dramatically to include allied governments, partnered governments, as well as adversarial governments. This interdiction of this oil tanker, which is infinitely preferable to just blowing something up and killing everybody on board. We actually have evidence now associated with a criminal investigation. And it speaks to the administration's logic here, such as I understand it, which is that we have a hostile government which is destabilizing this country, destabilizing the hemisphere, and providing a footstool for anti-American powers, our near-peer competitors in China and Russia, and a lifeline, an economic lifeline to Cuba, which has been a thorn in our side for 70 years. Here's how we get at the real money that's propping up all these regimes, and it goes to a national security strategy that I think Congress could comprehend if they went to Congress.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between Petro in Colombia and Maduro. Maduro stole the election. The elections were won by Maria Corina Machado's party. Maria Corina Machado, who is in Oslo receiving the Nobel Peace Prize that did not go to Trump. Petro was democratically elected. I don't like the guy. He is anti-American and we are anti-him. There is drug trafficking and cocaine production in Colombia. For decades now, the U.S. government has been working in collaboration with the Colombian government to try to stop and eradicate some of that stuff. But we can't just go around. Believe me, I have a whole list of people in Latin America that I would like to be out of the country. Ortega in Nicaragua, Diaz-Canel in Cuba. But those are illegitimate leaders. Petro is a legitimate leader. We may not like him, but he was elected by his people.
The president doesn't make that distinction.
No, to Anna's point, Trump is, and to your point, Trump is not making that distinction. Is he just throwing his weight around in the region because he can?
No, he was asked a question about Colombia, and he was responding to that. That wasn't an original thing said by Trump deliberately. He was asked that question. But look, this is the Monroe Doctrine, 2.0. This is the Monroe Doctrine 2.0.
Just to be clear, he was asked, have you considered talking to the president of Colombia? And he answered, he'd better wise up or he'll be next. He'll be next. I hope he's listening.
Yeah, so it was a
response.
response.
Are you going to take out the president of Colombia? You're going to talk to the guy.
Going back to Maduro, you have the United Nations, the U.S. government, the International Criminal Court, all saying this guy, as Anna pointed out, is a murderous dictator who is accused of international crimes, narco trafficking amongst them, torturing his own people amongst them. And we've had feckless intervention for the last God knows how many years, 5 years, 10 years, right? So if we are aware that there is only two sources of revenue for Maduro's regime, which is narcotics and oil, I'm happy that the president is escalating this to actually cut off the larger of those two pots, which is this shadow fleet of oil. The U.S. Navy buildup, that's not a buildup just to take some drug boat people down. That's a build-up to actually isolate this shadow fleet from actually doing business. This is going to number the days of the Maduro regime, and this is going to be another win for Donald
The
Trump.
U.S. naval buildup is to scare Maduro.
Yes,
the
but-
droning and bombing
and the
of
seizing
boats
of the
is
ship
to
today,
scare
and the seizing of
Maduro.
the ship today was a
Point
real
out, I guess they can seize the boats. They don't actually have to blow them out of the water.
They can.
They demonstrated that they can do that.
But blowing them out of the water, I think we also have to ask the question, what is the perception, right? It almost feels like we're watching an action movie in real time in these tweet or X clips. And as I watch them, I think about a president who's throwing his weight around and showing young people, especially who are watching, that this is a tough guy, that he doesn't back down. And these are in some ways easy targets.
And that's what the administration has to be worried about. As far as I understand it, the force posture that we have in the region is not conducive to a land invasion. It is conducive to executing strikes on military targets and regime targets inside Venezuela. The assumption being that this is a rotten edifice that'll crumble with just a tiny push. I've heard that a lot. I don't necessarily know if it will
I'm
bear
curious what you
be
think
a
about
long
that,
campaign.
Alex. What do you think?
So I think Noah's characterization is correct. So if we take just all the politics out of it, just look at the military footprint, nearly 1/3 of the deployed U.S. Navy is off the coast or somewhere in the Caribbean to be able to strike. Fighter jets and bombers as well. Marine Expeditionary Unit with some small special operations capabilities within it. Then there's a commercial cover platform that's out there belonging to the U.S. Special Operations Command that you can available find it online. But that wasn't used today. All of that footprint suggests, as you mentioned, naval and airstrikes coming in, potential special operations, targeted missions, and then Marines coming in to secure specific sites. So the only way you can't depose somebody from the air, not in this type of context, right? So there would have to be some sort of ground element. It speaks to something within Venezuela itself because the U.S. footprint isn't there. What I've heard from inside the administration from folks is that there's a general consensus that Maduro needs to go, much to Anna's point, right? So as we're looking at that, how is that going to happen? Is it going to happen by force? The president's gone back and forth several times on this. There's been phone calls made to Maduro to see if he'll step down. My understanding was he had offered to step down, offered all kinds of economic deals to do so, but that he wanted his underlings to remain in power with amnesty, and that was seen as an attempt by him to retain power when he was out of office, which was seen as a non-starter. And then the reasoning behind this is twofold. One, to supposedly stem the drug flow coming out of there, whatever that looks like, as you mentioned, that evidence, whatever that'll come out at some point. And the second is then to open up for trade. It's the wealthiest economy in South America that's been run into the ground and is under sanctions. And if Maduro is gone, now that's available for trade.
I mean, I think that while you just laid out suggests that at some point that ought to be a conversation with the American people about what that looks like.
And
Because
it has changed.
because
it has
it's not
changed.
just about Maduro, it's also about our forces who would be involved.
It's
in
about regime change,
Yeah.
which most American people do not agree with. But also, we've changed what we're talking about. Instead of talking about the war crime without a war that committed on these two shipwrecked survivors, and the video that hasn't been released that they refuse to release, we are talking about the interdiction of an oil tanker that we need more details, but could very possibly have some regulatory and statutory authorization and makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense compared to some of the other stuff.
Well,
Alex,
that's a low bar, but
yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
Next for
Carmen.
us, Democrats keep winning races across the nation, including in many Trump districts, and the president says that he can't figure out why. Plus, the Fed chair is blaming Trump's tariffs for elevated inflation as the president's message sounds more and more like Jimmy Carter's.
This is CNN.
Thinking of updating my kitchen.
Yeah?
Yes. This year, we are finally updating our kitchen. Doing subway tile and an ivory or eggshell. Cream, maybe bone.
Don't get me started on quartz.
Big island. You ever heard of a waterfall
For
cabinet?
everyone who talks about doing that
Right over
thing,
there,
but never does that thing,
sweet little breakfast nook.
Chase has financial guidance.
See how you can start saving to make this happen.
Really?
Really?
Really.
At home or in
You
person.
could also check out a Chase Money Skills workshop.
That's guidance from Chase. Make more of what's yours.
This good? I consolidated my debt with SoFi, and this is Ask Members Anything. How bad were your rates before SoFi? Some of them up to 28% interest. How did SoFi actually help? By lowering my monthly payments and making my monthly payments actually matter.
Consolidate your debt with a SoFi personal loan. View your rate by January 12, 2026, and you can win $100,000. SoFi. Get your money right.
Advil liquid gels are faster and stronger than Tylenol rapid release gels.
Also from Advil, Advil Targeted Relief, the only topical with 4 powerful pain-fighting ingredients that start working on contact and lasts up to 8 hours.
This holiday, Skechers has the perfect gift for everyone. Hands-free, cozy fit Skechers slip-ins. Just step in and go with no bending down or touching. Grandma's going hands-free. The kids are going hands-free. Even the big guy's going hands-free. Give everybody hands-free, cozy fit Skechers slip-ins for Christmas.
Liberty Mutual customizes.
Wait, am I in one of those Liberty Mutual commercials where they stand in front of the Statue of Liberty and talk about how Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need?
Yes.
Huh. What happens in this one?
Seagulls.
Oh, I like it. How are you doing?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.